Hello. Yes, it's been ages since I've been here. I'm kind of scared of YouTube because there's 650k of you. Thank you so much, by the way. But I don't really know how to YouTube because I blew up with shorts and that's just a very daunting thing. So it's been taking me a while, but I'm just trying to be here and bite the bullet and be a grown-up because I'm being dumb. Secondly, I'm accidentally dressed as a lumberjack. But what's a girl gonna do? No, I haven't ironed the shirt because my sister's got the iron and she's just gone on holiday. So I'm just trying to live my life. And thirdly, lots of people were speculating that I've been sent a cease and desist and that's why I don't do parodies anymore. However, I did not get sent one. I had a nice Zoom call with Warner Brothers copyright team and several emails back and forth. And my management have also been like, Chanel, maybe don't do that. But don't worry, because Potter Parodies will continue, maybe using AI. Let me know in the comments if you're cool with the parodies being with AI, because I also don't want to get sued because I don't have sue money, but I also love making them because we miss Dumbledore. So that's the intro for today. Let's go. A question that I get asked a lot, firstly, is why are there no parodies? But also lots of people ask me, Chanel, why are there no Fantastic Beasts parodies? And there is a very simple reason for that, because I don't particularly like Fantastic Beasts. I thought it was quite bold of them to keep putting fantastic in the title, if I'm honest. And I will explain why.
Winter Wonderland spread. Not wonderful yet.
So I personally think that Fantastic Beasts was a massive waste of potential because realistically, what did we want? I don't know what you wanted, but I know what I wanted. And what I wanted was magic wild thornberries. What I wanted was David Attenborough with magical creatures, okay? And that's kind of what we got in the first one. That's why that's the best one. But very quickly, Fantastic Beasts kind of turned into Dumbledore's friend who sometimes has animals, but most of the time we're at war. And that's not fun. So in this video today that absolutely no one asked for, I will be pitching my idea for Fantastic Beasts and how I would have done it if I was in charge. This is a disclaimer. I am but a lowly content creator with limited to no writing, film or TV experience. It may be rubbish, but realistically, so was Fantastic Beasts.
Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry.
So let's go. I personally feel like one of the main reasons, besides controversy, besides the pacing, the convolutedness of the plot, I think one of the main reasons that Fantastic Beasts went steadily downhill is they forgot their crown jewel. The thing that really made Fantastic Beasts what it should have been, which is Newt Scamander, our Hufflepuff wizards, kind to the gizzard. What's that? It's a lizard. I'll never do that again, I'm sorry. And having a tool like Newt in your arsenal, he needs a proper introduction. And so this is how I would start my version of Fantastic Beasts. For a spin-off to really be successful, yes, of course, there are callbacks to the original, but it really needs to stand alone. And the way that I would let the audience know very early on is that we're moving away from Hogwarts is to literally move away from Hogwarts. Where Harry Potter would always start with Harry at the Dursleys and then ultimately getting to platform 9 3/4 and going to Hogwarts where the story begins. Instead, my Fantastic Beasts will start with a group of students getting on the Hogwarts Express to go home for the summer. We follow these kids onto the train into a compartment and we meet a group of friends. They're laughing, they're joking, they're talking about all the things they've done and how much they're going to miss each other over the summer. We hone in on Connor because he's going to be our vessel and our introduction to Newt Scamander. Asked on Instagram what our main boy's name should be, and I said, give me the most British name ever, and I was giving Connor and Collins. So his name is Connor Alfie Collins, okay?
Mr. Collins, at your service.
I'm not sure I like the name, but it is very British. Connor is a modern day Ravenclaw wizard, 3rd year. He disembarks the train with his friends. However, his parents aren't there to pick him up. He asks a friend's mum, would you mind shrinking my case? She shrinks it down. He puts it in his pocket. And out of the other pocket, he pulls a phone. I don't know what brand of phone. We'll talk about it when we get to the brand deals. But he puts in his headphones. He texts his mum when he gets onto platform 9 that he's off of the Hogwarts Express. And then he gets onto a different train. And for a little bit, we get to see an incognito young wizard just out amongst us muggles, which I think is fun. I think that Harry Potter doesn't have enough of wizards being incognito in the muggle world. I think it keeps like the love alive a little bit because yeah, we know it's not real, but also maybe it's real. So as Connor's listening to his tunes and he's heading back to wherever he lives, I guess somewhere in the Midlands, as he gets off the train, his mum is waiting for him in the car, and so he starts talking about his friends, giving her all of the updates and asking her, what are we going to do this summer? Can we go to Alton Towers? For the Americans, that is a theme park that we have here. But you can see from his mum's face in the rear view that she has something to tell him and he's probably not going to like it. Connor's mum breaks the news that she's just got a big promotion at the ministry. I don't know what she does, but she's going to be abroad for the next little while, so he's not going to be able to stay at home. He asks why can't he stay with his dad. His dad is also doing something. He has busy parents, okay? So he's going to have to stay with his aunt. Now Connor's hoping he's staying with his muggle aunt who has a PS5. Unfortunately not, no. He's staying with his aunt Susan.
No! God, please, no!
Now you know I love a grumpy old lady, so we've got to have one. We learn through the course of this conversation that Connor really doesn't want to go and stay with this aunt. She's weird. She lives in a creepy old house next to an old museum. She doesn't seem to particularly like him. She's grumpy and he'll have nothing to do. It's giving Narnia.
No touching of the historical artifacts.
And so his mum apologises, but it is the way it is, and it's just for a few weeks. Now, we're going to put a pin in the story because we need to talk about this museum. Now, I genuinely have been thinking for a long time, what do wizards do when they're just at home? If they're a wizard that is not part of the muggle community in any capacity, what do they do in the evenings? Do they just read? That they're playing wizard chess all day? If pictures can move in the magical world, is a picture book the equivalent of watching a television programme? And it's while thinking of this that I landed on this question. How would I watch David Attenborough if I was a wizard? And that's when I started thinking about memories. You can manipulate memories. We know this, which means that you can edit memories, so to speak, which means you could really make a memory into a documentary and then sell it and people can watch it in their pensives. It's a cool idea, but the problem with this though is that pensives are incredibly rare, and things that are rare are expensive. Hogwarts was literally built around a pensieve that the founders found in the ground and was like, yeah, this seems like a sick place. And so not everybody's going to have access to one. Not to mention there's quite a bit of suspicion around pensives, and I'm not surprised. If you could live in your favourite memories, why would you ever leave? It's giving all those people that went to go and see Avatar for the first time and then got very depressed because they don't live on Pandora and they're not blue, apart from they were blue because they were depressed. It's giving Mirror of Erised vibes. It's giving the corruption that could happen from using the Seeing Stones in Lord of the Rings. So what is a magical museum? Portraits that can tell you their own stories. Watching memories of intrepid explorers finding magical artifacts and incredible beasts. Skeletons with charms on them so they can move around and interact the way that they would have acted. It's giving Night at the Museum, but bear with me. So scooting back to Connor, we get to see Connor with his aunt who he doesn't get on with, and she's a bit of a kooky ooky lady, you know, she's proper witch, and we get to see this kind of weird dynamic of a kid that's a muggle in the summer holidays essentially having to live with a witch who really is giving Bethalda Bagshot witch. She ain't got a TV. What? There's spiders the size of cats in her house. She's got maybe a house elf, problematic, but really there's no one to talk to. So eventually after a load of whinging, she gives him a key, and this key is the key to the museum. Now it's alluded to that the museum probably closed down because it didn't have enough customers. She used to run it, it's in the family, but we don't really know. If you didn't have enough money, why didn't you sell some of the exhibits, you silly businesswoman?
You're fired.
Or is it a red herring? She tells him he can go in, but he has a job to do. He's supposed to catalogue the artifacts. She's making up fake jobs for him to do, essentially. But she tells him on no uncertain terms, is he allowed to go into the back rooms, go in the boxes, basically rules he's given that he will break. Because you would, wouldn't you? I'd be breaking every rule. I'd be going through everything because I'm nosy. And it's when he's in one of these rooms that he shouldn't be in that he sees a box with Newt Scamander's name on the top, a name that he recognises because he has a textbook with that name. And because he knows it, he's like, well, let's have a sneaky peek. Now, before we get to our protagonist, here's a word from our sponsor. Oh my gosh, what's that in the box? It's not memories, it's HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a delivery meal kit service that you can tailor to fit into your lifestyle. I don't know if you know this, but I was sponsored by HelloFresh once before and I used my own code and now I'm a genuine customer. There must be other people who use their own code, surely. I'm a person who struggles with disorganized eating, and so HelloFresh is really useful to me. It is quite a regular occurrence that I will sit down to something I've suddenly found super interesting and not move from that space for another 14 hours, at which point I'll realize I'm super hungry, I haven't eaten all day, and because of HelloFresh, there's always a well-balanced meal in my fridge, which definitely beats out the daily dash to the supermarket, which is pretty dangerous when you're hungry. As a person who's not organised, never has been organised, never will be organised, HelloFresh is helping me out. Choose between a variety of meals, be that quick cook, calorie smart, premium, etc. Now, I personally pride myself on being a pretty good cook. I can tell you that these HelloFresh recipe cards are so simple that the other day when I came in at 4 a.m. after a night of well-mannered frivolity, I cooked this one and it was all good. You can use the code Chanel60, oh it's designer, to get 60% off your first box and 25% off your subsequent 8 boxes. The link will be in the description. Thank you, HelloFresh, for sponsoring this video, and back to it. Now, the things that I want to know about Newt Scamander weren't necessarily answered for me in any of the 3 Fantastic Beasts films, because our guy is the world's first can't even say it. Our guy, Newt Scamander, is the world's first magizoologist. Now, as an animal scientist myself, for those of you who don't know, I have a degree and a master's degree in equine-based science research. But as someone with a background in animal sciences, I was really interested in this. Where did this magizoology come from? What was the event that caused someone to create this new branch of magical science? And why did it become a thing we needed? What were people just pelting rocks at creatures before then? Obviously, people had pets or creatures, or they worked with dragons. I feel like that didn't just start in Newt's time. And how did this kid who didn't graduate from Hogwarts become the world's first magizoologist? And that's the story that we're going to find out inside these boxes. Now, as Connor pours the first memory into the pensieve and we view it as if we would in Harry Potter, when we could tell Harry was in a memory, that kind of film would fade away as if now we are just with Newt. We're not in a memory, we're just with Newt as all of this is happening. So characterization-wise, Newt is the same. He's just younger. He's not an established magizoologist. Instead, he is a guy who, on the grapevine, people have heard, oh, well, there's this guy that helped me out with my hippogriff problem. My hippogriff was having a terrible time. I couldn't get it to do anything, and he sorted me out. Or, I've got a hydra that I don't know what to do with. I hear there's a guy that takes these kind of things off your hands. And just through word of mouth, he's making a bit of a name for himself. We see him go from place to place, kind of tackling problems case by case. He's like the Witcher, but with kindness. He takes them if he has to, he improves their quality of living, and he teaches people about them. Because since Hogwarts and even before, he has been obsessed with animals and making these deep bonds with them, and really has been upset with some of the things that he's found. No wonder your unicorn doesn't shine anymore, because it's supposed to be with a herd. It shouldn't be by itself in a frigging cage. And though he's not necessarily the best at communicating what these people need to do, what he does communicate with is just visually you can see he has a connection with these animals. He understands these animals, and so people trust him. I was thinking about the fun that you could have with this, especially with this whole it's not all contained to the wizarding world. Say you have a rich wizard who has investments in racehorses, and so he's got people injecting horses with dragon's blood, and so these horses have started trying to eat the grooms and breathing fire. Or he's been called in because someone's Cerberus puppy has got loose and it's running around Kent. He's still a rookie, he's still young, but he's got immeasurable talent. But Newt is nothing if not an inquisitive mind. He wants to know more, he wants to see more. And yes, there's animals that have been imported to the UK, but he wants to go and explore other creatures, other lands. And he doesn't have the funds for that, unfortunately. He's not from a rich family. He's been making his way kind of on his own. His parents are sweethearts, but they don't really know what to do with him. Until a rich benefactor who has heard of him on the grapevine offers a proposal. Not one of marriage, no. A business proposal. A rich wizard reaches out to Newt, offering him the opportunity to be able to travel, to be able to help more animals, to be able to go to distant lands and find new creatures, on the condition that Newt bring back his memories and share them for this man's new project, which is a museum. A museum where he wants to share the wonders of the world with Wizarding Britain. A place where these people will be able to gain an understanding and an empathy for these animals that Newt has always had naturally. And that's incredibly appealing to him. Of course, Newt has the condition that this isn't some kind of zoo. He's not bringing back actual animals. It's just the memories that he creates while he interacts with them. And it's confirmed, yes, just memories. And Newt is elated. Newt is so excited by the prospect of this opportunity that absolutely he wants to do it. He's a little unsure because the wizard insists that he'll have to go with a travel companion and that companion will be picked by the wizard. Although he assures Newt that there'll be a scholar, an academic, and they're purely there to take notes. Since Newt didn't graduate, they'll be providing the more scientific side to bring back for the museum. And so he says yes. And this is when we return to Connor, who now is back in his bed after watching this memory, but he has a copy of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in his hand. And what before was just a bit of homework to be thrown under his bed that he really didn't want to do, now he's genuinely interested in it. And he's thinking about what memories he's going to watch tomorrow. And so, along with Connor, we continue to watch feats of magic. And that magic is not necessarily wand magic. It's the magic in Newt going from place to place, finding through trial and error sometimes how to communicate with them, how to better their existence, how to teach the people around them to be better to them. And it's beautiful, and the CGI is good. And in doing so, we don't just get to see the creatures, but we get to see how magic works differently. From Asia, from Africa, from all over the globe. And I can hear you say, Chanel, that's what we already got in Fantastic Beasts. But I would argue that it's far more interesting to watch him interact with species he's never encountered before versus recapturing creatures that he already had in his briefcase. Because it wasn't Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It was Fantastic Beasts that I already captured off screen that I'm going to go and capture again because I lost them. Yes, we see them in recreated habitats within his briefcase, but I want to see them out in the wild doing their thing, possibly wreaking havoc, but also being valued members of magical ecosystems somewhere, being feared by witch or wizard or being worshipped. We'd get to discover these creatures alongside him. We'd be the explorers too. And along with that, we get the fun dynamic of Newt and someone he doesn't know. This academic who has absolutely no practical skill can list off 100 things about an animal, but when they're face to face to it, has no idea what to do. Alongside Newt, who he knows a bit, but is reading body language and is understanding what to do purely almost by instinct. The two are bonding and becoming a really great team, and they're learning from each other because Newt wants to have as much information as he can. He always has, but in the strict school system that a lot of us can identify with, it wasn't necessarily the best way for him to be able to learn the more academic side of his craft. And it's not so much that Newt is learning to better communicate with people, but he's understanding them a little more. And this other person is learning to adapt to Newt's way of communication, how best to support him, how best to communicate with him. And that's fun, and it's funny, and it's lovely, and it's charming. Until we get to the last memory in the box. A memory that there's something off about it, and Connor notices that from the start. It's been altered, just like Slughorn's memory of Tom Riddle and that fateful question. But Connor isn't old enough to really understand what that means, and so he's watching this memory. But something just feels off. Connor watches as Newt releases a recently healed griffin, and he can see an approaching witch. It's a witch that he recognizes, a member of a coven that he had helped previously, but the split had been amicable. They had all left in smiles. However, this woman who's approaching, this same woman, she's now looking very hostile. And as Newt turns and he recognizes her, he smiles, but his smile falls away as he too is confused by why she's here firstly, and why she looks so angry. She raises a staff which she bangs to the ground, which permeates magic outwards, and it knocks Newt and his companion flying. She shouts and she's crying, but you can't make out what she's saying because the memory's been altered. It's just mumbly and it's confusing, and then everything goes black. And as Connor retreats out of the pensieve, he thinks, what? He has to know what happened. What was that? What was she saying? Even muffled what she was saying, it sounded angry and hurt, and he needs to know. We all need to know. But as he looks around at the many, many boxes in this room, knowing that perhaps there'll be answers in one of them somewhere, he knows that he's not going to be able to find it by himself. Obviously, we're not going to ask Aunt Susan for help because she's a dick. That's not the case. You know I would never let the grumpy old lady be a dick in this story. She's obviously going to have a heart of gold and come through for us at the end. But Connor doesn't know that. And so he racks his brains about what to do and decides he's definitely going to need reinforcements. And that is the end of part 1. I hope you enjoyed this little a fanfiction story. And if you did, let me know in the comments. If you didn't, let me know what are your favorite stories. What do you like about Fantastic Beasts that I'm missing? And yeah, hit that like and subscribe if you would like to hear more. Also, if you have any suggestions for part 2, I'm interested to see if you guys can see where it's going. I feel like you kind of can see where it's going, but obviously not the twist because only I know the twist. I am the twist keeper. But I'm excited to do some different stuff on this channel because I want to do different stuff. Also, everybody that has asked for my top 10, because in that other video I said that Harry Potter is my 7th favourite franchise, and then people were like, well, what are your top 10s? My top 10 video will be coming shortly. So we will talk about all of the things that I love more than Harry Potter. I know, traitor. I hope you have a wonderful day, week, month, and I will see you next time. Bye. Okay, so baby girl got tired being ignored, so we have a house elf. I know it has been a long time, but you know how I'm terrible at telling stories and I always go off on tangents. That's why this has got so many cuts.